Good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference for Fair Play, which was screened here in the morning. And in the afternoon, there's going to be a premiere in the Grand Hall. I also welcome the producer, Kateřina Černá from Negative, Pavel Strnad of Negative, the director of Fair Play, Andrea Sedláčková, the leading actress, Judith Bardoš. We're hoping that Anna Geislerová is on her way. She played the mother of Judith Bardoš in the film. We have Eva Josefiková here, who played Martina, and then a representative of the foreign co-producer from the Bardoš film. And perhaps my first question is for Andrea Sedláčková. It's an obvious question. What inspired you to write a script about doping? And how and where did you get your information? I read an article in a newspaper which said that previously unknown documents about a state-organized doping program were discovered. That was taking place in the 80s. And I thought that that was an interesting topic, and I also thought it was going to be easy. I was going to ask the journalist or other journalist. However, the journalist died in between, and he was the only person who had the information. So through various contacts, I got to know doctors, trainers, coaches, athletes who were part of the program. They didn't want to talk about it. It was clear that even 25 years ago, or 25 years on, the state organized something through the so-called State of National Health, and they chose a certain number of people, national representatives, and they forced them to sign that they were going to join the program, because otherwise they were not able to participate in the top sports program. But nobody wanted to talk about it. It was clear that they were not very proud of what they did, obviously. In the end, it took me 5 years to write the script. Gradually, they built their trust towards me. They saw that I wasn't going to point my finger to certain athletes and say, look, they were bastards, look what they used. So gradually I managed to find the truth. How hard was it to find the leading actress? Because you need to be able to act, you need to be good at sports. How did the casting work? I was a bit naive. I thought it was going to be enough to find a tall, thin girl. So the primary criterion was that I invited all tall and thin actresses. I chose one. I showed her to a trainer who was an advisor, and he said, no, that's not going to work, because we knew that the leading actress would have to go through a training program, say, for a year. He said that that was out of the question, so then we had a second round. We thought that perhaps it could be an athlete, someone who really does sports, who could act, and we saw about 50 sprinters. It turned out that some of them are quite good at acting, but they wouldn't be able to adapt to our shooting plan because they wanted to do sports. They didn't want to act. And then came the third phase. I would be inviting actresses to a stadium. They would run 200 meters, and the trainer would say, yes, perhaps, maybe. So after this filter, we started a normal acting casting. It also took about a year and a half. And we saw all actresses in Slovakia, in Moravia, in Bohemia. I think we probably saw 300, 400, 500. I don't know. It's an unbelievable figure. Pavel Strnad? Pavel says that our choice was good. And we also welcome Anja Geislerová. What was the preparation like for the actresses, for Judith Bardoš, for Eva Josefiková? You went through a special training program. What was it like? Did you have any doubles in the film? When we were chosen, when it seemed that they might choose us, Kateřina and Andrea immediately asked whether we were willing to train for 6 months before the shooting. And Eva and I said, yes, obviously. But she said, but you seriously need to train. Do you realize what you're saying? And if yes, okay. So 6 months before the shooting started, we had training sessions 3 times a week. Eva had a trainer in Prague, I had one in Bratislava. And that's how we prepared. And when the shooting started, we had doubles, obviously. They were all great, everyone in the crew. And when we set up a shot, sometimes it took a long time during the running sequences. By the time the shot was ready and there were rehearsals, it was all done by the doubles. And then Eva and I just did the shot then, 1 or 2 rehearsals. I have to say that I admired them both, because every week they ran about 60 kilometers. That's what the trainer told me. I think it was quite demanding. But I discovered that without the training, the 6-month training, I wouldn't have managed the actual shooting. I think I would be finished on the 3rd day, so it was a good idea. This 6-month training program was a good idea. Eva, do you want to add anything? I think that Judith said everything. It was demanding, both the training program and the actual shooting was an unforgettable experience, partly because of the preparation that we had to go through. It's not quite common in Czech film. It's very special if you need to prepare for a film for a year in advance, so I'm happy I was able to do that. An important aspect of the film is the realistic description of the reality of the 80s. What was it like to find locations, for example, sports grounds and stuff like that? Kateřina Černá? It also took us about 3 years to find locations. Everything took about 3 years in the film. And we were looking everywhere, because it was a co-production with Germany and Slovakia. It was our duty, with respect to the funds of the various countries, to do some shooting in those countries. So we were looking in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, and in Germany. So we know a lot of stadiums. In case you need any information, we're in the picture. And afterwards, when we took pictures of everything, we were trying to find the best ones. So the stadium was in Germany, the hall in Slovakia, the tunnel in the Czech Republic, and it was a combination of everything to make sure it was the best altogether. So yes, this process was very demanding and it took a long time, like everything else in this film. Everything took a long time. But now we are sitting here, so perhaps it was worth it. But we are here only for a short time. Okay, let's try and use this time. Questions, please. The first row, please, Mr. Borovička, and then the ladies. The film is premiered here. It's an international premiere. Are you preparing a release in Slovakia and in Germany? The premiere in Slovakia has already taken place, and in Germany, I think Christine will tell you.
Set up a premiere yet, but of course we wait for KVIFF Festival now and then fix a date then. So it's planned, but not like on a date yet.
Dobře, tak Věra Míšková.
Okay, Věra Míšková, Bravo Daily. Good afternoon. I have a couple of questions. One for Kateřina, or perhaps for Andrea as well. What has been your response from the people concerned after the film? Because you said that at the beginning they didn't really want to talk about it, and they did start trusting you. If they have seen the film, what was their response? And then a question for the actresses. Did the training and the shooting make you love running and sports or hate it? The responses. We actually had a campaign when the film was released in Czech cinemas. We invited a lot of athletes, including young people. The responses were varied. Some people don't like it. Some people were saying that it was actually a good time and it was all organized, it was under control. There are people who will never admit that it was all bad. Hard to tell. the responses were different, even among the young people. When we screened the film for young athletes, their views were very different. But in any case, it was very satisfying for me that nobody said, no, it wasn't like that. It didn't happen that way. It's all simplified. It's something you invented. No, everybody actually said when they saw the film that they remembered, yes, this is what we were taking, and yes, it was like that. But I think that a majority of people identified with the viewpoint of the film. Yes, those who took a lot of the stuff did not. Those who didn't, they did. Yeah, well, it's quite clear, isn't it? And the actresses, do you still run? Me not. But I feel a sort of pleasant nostalgia. A year before the casting, I was running. I had a boyfriend who was a sports person, and he sometimes took me running. So he actually taught me the running basics. So I can be grateful to him. Perhaps that's why they chose me at the casting, because he taught me certain things. And since then, I think I went running about 5 times, but I like watching it. I like watching athletics, but when I go running, it's just for fun, really. It's not as intense as it was during the training program. It's no longer necessary. Mirka Spáčilová, Mladá fronta Daily. I also have 2 questions. First of all, did you have time to have a look around? Do you have an idea about your competitors? And do you think that this topic of doping and socialism is international? And a question for Anja Geislerová. Didn't you feel sorry that you were not able to have a run as well? Or did you run as well? Okay, perhaps Pavel Strnad will answer the first part of the question because he's been here for longest. Some of the ladies only arrived today. I've seen a very good number of very good films here. I think I may not say any more, especially about our competitors in the competition, because I do not think that's suitable. I haven't seen anything. I think it is an international topic. We've had good response from abroad, and now we look forward to releases or screenings at other festivals. It is also a paradox that when we financed the project, first of all, we had foreign partners, and it was more difficult at home, but we had very good responses to the script, for example. Anja Geislerová. And I have witnesses here. I volunteered to take part in the entire training program with the girls. Because there was a scene when you were supposed to run. Yes, there was a scene where I ran to catch a tram in the morning or whatever. No. I wanted my running to show that I used to be a tennis player, so we agreed that I would go through it all, and then, as luck would have it, I became pregnant, so I didn't have to. Then it was really difficult to actually get me started in front of the camera. Anja actually had a pass for a fitness club, but she never went. Once I did go to ask how it worked there. I had to look, and that was it. I did it all on behalf of Anja. Jana Podskalská, Bohemia Daily. A follow-up question concerning the sports audiences who went to see this film. I'm not going to ask about the specific people, but yesterday we had a talk with the producer. She said that there were people who came to see the film who do other disciplines. What was the response of these people, these audiences, as opposed to ordinary audiences? I hope that some former sports people, not only athletes, came to see the film. I know some hockey people, and they were all very excited about the film. They loved the film. And I think about 60,000 people have seen the film. It seems that it's a film about doping, but for me, the doping was just a topic which helped us make a film about freedom, about the morals, and about the boundaries that you don't want to cross, and about a relationship between a mother and daughter, and especially about the communist society in which we were living. Obviously, I read reviews. When I look at CFSD, which is the Czech-Slovak film database, people do not see it as a film about doping. It's not that they find out something about doping. No, they find out something about the world. Obviously, some people slashed me, and some people liked it. Any more questions? Over there.
Hello, my name is Max from Berlin. And I would like to know from the director how much of the story is related to real cases. Do some of the former athletes knew what was going on, or did they ever heard about doping when they were still active?
When I was doing my research, I came across a story which kept repeating itself. Several people told me about it, about a significant Czech athlete who made many records that never been superseded. And they said that she didn't know that she was being doped, and her trainer was doping her. Like in the film, he was telling her that she was getting vitamins, and he was giving her something else because he knew that she would never say yes. And I never wanted to do a story about someone who would agree and then realize that it wasn't right. From the beginning, I wanted it to be a person who disagrees in principle, because that was my idea about the main character. So it's based on this real story. And the second part of the question, did people know? Most of the people did know in the sentence. Not the young ones, who only just arrived. They were 18, 19. It was 1983. So people didn't know that much about these things. But gradually, they did find out, like it's in the film. And the results were remarkable. The physical changes were remarkable. They were very visible. People could not notice that something exceptional was happening to them. But I had a question once for a trainer. Why do you think some people went with it and some didn't? And he said it was like the membership of the Communist Party. Some people did and some people didn't. And even today, some people are very happy to do doping. When you do research, I actually read that 40 or 50% sportsmen said, when there was a survey, that they would actually go for it because of the results, because they say that everybody does it anyway. Any more questions? Perhaps I have a question myself for Andrea Sedláčková. In France, you became an editor. You worked on a number of important films, but Jakub Heina did the editing for your film. Didn't you think that you might do it yourself? And what was it like? Was it as usual? I never do the editing of my own films. Didn't even cross my mind. No. I would hate it because when I edit a film, I do not want the directors to be in the editing room. And I think that's the right way. The editor works by himself, and the director comes and takes a step back to see if certain things are possible, and there should be a dialogue. I edited 25 feature films, and for him it was the second film. So I tried not to be too clever. But I was worried for the film. I wanted the film to be good, so. Anything that we might want to add? Or any more questions? If not, thank you for your attention. There's a screening at 5 o'clock in the Grand Hall of the Thermal Hotel. We may see you again, and have a good afternoon.